I've watched this play out in more clubs than I'd like to think of. A senior leader announces they're leaving, and suddenly everyone's in a panic. Who are we going to get to replace them? The board wants someone in the role as quickly as possible to reduce that transition time. The recruitment process perhaps even gets rushed, and 6 months later, the new person isn't perhaps working out, and the whole cycle starts again. Hi, I'm Michelle Pascoe, and if you're a CEO, GM, or board member in the registered club or hospitality industry, then this channel is for you. I've been working more than 30 years now across the country with venues, and it's given me a clear, well, pretty clear picture of what separates those clubs that weather the leadership transitions well from the ones that don't. And I want to share that with you today. If you're thinking about how to build a stronger leadership pipeline in your venue, because I believe that succession planning is so important, then head to the michellepascoe.com website and take a look at my middle management movement programs. Now, let's talk about why recruiting alone will never solve a leadership pipeline problem. Recruitment is a response. It kicks in when there's already a gap, when someone has already left or announced they're going. By that point, you're already behind, and the pressure to fill that role quickly rarely leads to the best decision. Now, sometimes, you can't always plan these things, but in more cases than not, you can. So it's how do you get ready for that? The clubs that handle that leadership transition well are not necessarily better at recruiting, they're better at developing. They've been investing in their middle managers consistently, giving them stretch opportunities, proper development, and a genuine pathway to something bigger. So when a senior role becomes vacant, they're not starting from scratch. They've already got people who are ready or close to it. So here are three things you can do right now to start building that pipeline. So the first is look who you actually have. Sit down and think honestly about your middle management team. Now, not who's just performing well in their current role, but who has the capacity to grow beyond it, who handles pressure well, who other people turn to, naturally, who asks really good questions and follows through on what they say and what they do. And they are the ones who are your candidates. And if you haven't identified them yet, then this is where you start. It's by looking and having conversations with them. The second is to stretch them deliberately. Not everyone sees that full potential in them. It takes others, and that's where I see leadership is so important. It takes other leaders to see that potential in someone and really, really stretch them. Development doesn't happen in a workshop. It happens on the job when someone is given that responsibility. That's slightly beyond where they're comfortable, and most importantly, they're supported through it. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. We could have, should have done it, yes. But you've got to give them the opportunity to try, expand, learn from that. But it's about that support. Give your identified people those projects that matter. Involve them in conversations that perhaps they normally wouldn't have, around the board table, for instance. Let them present to the board. That is really key. Let them lead something significant and be there to back them when it does get hard, because it will. The third is to make development a board conversation. Boards that are actively asking about the depth of leadership in their organization, who's being developed, what the succession plan looks like. Those boards are far better positioned when changes happen, whether they're planned or whether they just happen, it just occurs. And change always does happen. And as I said, sometimes it's even taken out of our hands. So how do we plan for that? The clubs that will navigate leadership transitions coming in the next 5 years without crisis are the ones doing all of these three things right now. Not when someone hands in their notice or perhaps has to leave for medical reasons, all sorts of things can just crop up that they don't even know about. Now, while there's still time to build something real, this is your time to do that. So head to michellepascoe.com to find out more. And if this has been useful, share it with someone in your network who leads in this industry. And I'll see you next week. Bye.